Welcome to day 2. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to day 2 of the path to the next edge. Everything we speak about in the next for this week, 5 days. So yesterday we hit on the topic of subconscious imprinting, but everything we're speaking about is all about getting you from your current level into your next edge. So if you are someone where you feel that you are really at the brink of a transformation, you feel that you're at the brink of becoming someone huge and extraordinary, and you're here to create an above average life, this challenge is for you. Highly recommend jumping in and joining my broadcast channel so you can also get access to all of the giveaways and the offers that I will be doing in this training, and to get access to all of this training. But today, we've got my notes here, we're talking about visionary focus. So this is part 1. Part 2 is going to be tomorrow, and this is all around identity. Everything that I'm teaching you in the next 5 days is all in alignment with my methodology, the WoMastery methodology. And so yesterday was really the subconscious, the mind, the belief system. Over the next 2 days, we're going to be diving in deep into your identity. We're going to be diving in deep into how you see yourself, how you believe that you are when you put yourself out into the world, and how you're operating. And I'm actually going to share with you my most loved, my most favorite framework and concept that I have ever created. I have a couple of therapist friends, and they like to use this in their own sessions with their clients, and it's something that I'm very, very proud of, because it is so simple, yet it is so effective when it applies. And I'm going to be sharing with you parts of it that I share with my clients when it comes to this identity framework, and we're going to be talking about standards as well. If you are here, put likes in the chat. Let me know that you're here. If you're watching the replay, definitely write replay so I know that you've come back to watch this. But this is going to be, over the next 5 days, things you can listen to on repeat. And I want you don't even need to watch me after this. You can just listen to the audio. I'm going to be putting it onto my podcast, the Jessica Pinili podcast. You can go for your hot girl walk and you can go listen to this audio. But it's something to, like I said, the path to your next edge. How are you at your current level? How are you getting to your next edge? I'm the coach for the women that want more than an above average life, the women who want to live an extraordinary life, whatever that means to you, the luxury, the wealth. And I don't just mean money and materialistic items. If you want to have slow morning with your kids, you don't need to set an alarm, you're with your partner, the bills are paid, that you can go to the Sunday markets and go buy a matcha and overpriced tulips, and that is your wealth and luxury. Amazing. If you want to go buy a business class seat for your family, or go retire your parents, or be able to go on holidays every 2 months, beautiful. I welcome you all. So, when it comes to identity, the first thing I will say for this training is get really, really honest about yourself, about what success is to you, what that identity looks like. A lot of women, high achievers, who want to move into, and this is like the before we get into the training, but a lot of women who want to move into the identity of their higher self, their future self, aren't actually crystal clear on what that concept is, what that self-concept is. And actually, for the next 2 days, I'm bundling up 3 of my most loved self-concept and identity trainings for $55. This is only for the people who are watching this live, who are watching the replay and going through this. So 3 of my most loved, my most used self-concept and identity training. So if you want that, just let me know in the comments. Just write identity. If you're watching the replay, comment identity, or just send me a DM. It's not going to be on my stories or anything. It's only for you, because you're showing up for yourself. You're raising the standards. And so I want to just give you a story to kind of set the scene when it comes to having a visionary focus for your life, which is really like a long-term legacy. And I remember back in 2018, I was still in the fitness industry before I had this business, and I went and I did a talk. And I did a talk as a personal trainer to about 100 women. There were about 3 other women. Yeah, 3 other women who were doing this talk with me. And in this talk, I was speaking about body image, self-confidence when it comes to being a woman. As a personal trainer, I was speaking about this. And I remember that I just had this spark in my heart. Like, I hadn't been so lit up ever. And I just remember leaving that event after speaking to 100 plus women, and just feeling like I was buzzing. I was vibrating at a vibration I'd never tapped into before. And now looking back, and I do a lot of my concepts and frameworks around what my own experiences are and what my clients are, right? I need to walk the talk. And I remember looking back, and when I reflect on this, that signified a different vibration of identity and self-concept. And in that moment, and this is where you may be right now, feeling like you're on the brink of changing your life, the brink of transformation in your business, in your career, in your relationship, I had to make a choice of whether I was going to stay in the same identity and have the focus that I'd always had to lead me up to that point, or was I going to have a visionary focus into a legacy, into creating? Now, I think the year before 2017, something similar happened, not to that degree, but I felt that same vibration. So obviously, I'm a spiritual girl as well. So along the way, the universe is offering me opportunities to, like, hey, in your 3D, I'm giving you opportunities to get into alignment with what you desire. And I remember from this event, I went home, I filled out this notebook. I have this notebook somewhere. I still, like, I think it's actually at my dad's house back where I used to live in Western Australia. But I filled out this notebook, and it was ideas that have come to life over the past 5 years. But in that moment, I was buzzing, writing. I remember, I think I stayed in the whole weekend because I was like, I'm going to create something online. And like back then, 2018, online coaches like I am, like what you see the internet have now, weren't really a thing. The motivational people were like Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, all of that, right? Brene Brown speaking about all of that, the OGs. So I couldn't really conceptualize what was happening. I was buzzing. I knew that I had this choice, like, oh my God, like this could be me. I'm speaking on stage. I'm having women have conversations with me. I am like feeling like I'm meant for more than, being a fitness manager, being a personal trainer. I get nothing wrong with that, but I knew, like, you're probably resonating with me. You just know, you can feel it when it's like, I'm meant for more. I've gotten to this place right now where it's like, nah, I've shut the door. I'm meant for more. And that's where it was. That was 2018. I think it was about March, start of March. So guess what happened after that? Nothing. I went back and I kept making the same choices that I had been. I kept thinking the same way. I would still complain. I would still live in a victim mentality that I couldn't make a change, or it wasn't possible, or I didn't have money, or I didn't have time, or I didn't have the energy. And I would look for all of the reasons, and this is part of the identity work and something I want you to recognize in yourself. I would look for all of the reasons why I should stay the same. And today we're going to also be speaking about standards. Let me know if this is resonating with you. So I looked for all of the reasons in my workplace, in my bank account, in my relationships, in my environment, in what I was doing on the weekend, all of the reasons to stay the same. And I was at this place where the universe had given me this look at like what the vibration feels like to step into that future lens, that have that visionary focus, and I didn't take it. And this is where I see so many high achieving women, and I'm going to share with you my framework that my clients love. It's, if you've just joined, I was saying I have a lot of therapist friends. They actually use this framework, which is incredible, with their own clients. And I'm going to share that with you shortly. But we have a choice when it comes to our identity. And this is why the WoMastery method, there's 3 phases. Yesterday I spoke about subconscious reprogramming, subconscious imprinting, your belief system, what you truly, truly deep down at the root believe. The next 2 days, we're speaking about identity shifting. That's the second phase to WoMastery. The third phase, what I'll be speaking about on Thursday and Friday, is all about regulating to a new capacity. So it's so great if you can do this work, but then if you can't regulate, if it doesn't actually feel safe in your body and safe when you're talking to people, you'll do anything to self-sabotage. So make sure you have joined my broadcast channel and you're coming back to these trainings. But I remember just being at this state of like near depression and anxiety because I just felt that I was meant for more money, more experiences, more travel, more better relationships. And I wasn't seeing it. You're correct. Having my son is what's made me not fear the incoming judgment and goal oriented for my son. That's so beautiful. I love that. And sometimes we have to have these pivotal moments in our life. I have a lot of clients who are mums, and they have said one of the most pivotal, just a side note, pivotal things is giving birth and having a child. You don't even need to give birth, but basically having a child, whichever way that people conceive, and having this feeling of like rebirth for themselves, seeing themselves in a different light, seeing themselves, and it's quite literally, it's the perfect analogy for an identity shift, because you go from, and it doesn't matter if you, like a lot of my clients, onto their third kid, but every kid is like, oh, I'm like, here's another level of identity. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I remember just being in this place where I was like on this border of like depression, anxiety. I didn't want to go to work. Coming from someone, when I was in university, I worked barista job. I would go out. I would get drunk till 5 a.m. and then I would make my way to my 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. barista shift. Can anyone else relate if you worked in hospitality in your early 20s? So this is from someone I wouldn't even call. I'd be still drunk, not even hungover, and I'd still go in. But I was at this point where I was like, how can I make an excuse to call in? And that wasn't in my personality. And I knew I could feel I was so disappointed in myself, because I was like, I know that I'm meant for so much more. Why aren't I moving? Why aren't I doing? I'd been into personal development since I was 18 and I wasn't moving. I wasn't making choices. I wasn't doing anything. I'd had such a great event. I'd been on a high vibration. So why is that? Why is that we can witness ourselves in a moment, in a brink of transformation, to do something, to identify as someone differently, to embody someone differently. But why is it we struggle to make that? And this is where my framework comes in. So if you can, definitely get out your pens and papers. But this will be one of the trainings I said at the start. For this next 2 days, the offer, if you come to this training, is 3 self-concept identity trainings bundled together, $55. That's actually such a steal. One of the frameworks, this framework that I'll speak to you about, you will get this training that only my masterminders and my higher level end clients get. So that's one of the trainings. The other 2 are around identity questions, self-concept, my other frameworks. $55 is a steal. So if you're resonating with this and you want to do some identity, self-concept work, the subconscious stuff, get into that. Let me know as well. Send me a DM. Just say identity. So this framework, and like I said, you get this training in full, is my upside down why framework. And it's exactly how it sounds, right? Actually, I have my pen and paper here. Let me show you. I always wish that you could do a bit of like a share screen when it comes to live. So literally what it sounds like, an upside down why. And what I want you to think about, and I'll just write each concept, just so we know. This is quite literally, I spoke to my masterminders about this last week. I'm using this always. This is why you will get on the brink of transformation, and why you get on the brink of fully transforming who you are, and you feel like you can't. You feel like you can't push over to the next edge. Or maybe you start to make a change and then you start self-sabotaging. The upside down why framework. Old identity, new identity in between. Most people, why they struggle, is because they think that you go from an old identity into a new identity. Now, phase 1, like I said in the Woman Mastery Method, is all about your subconscious beliefs, the root of why you are the way you are. You need to be able to do that. That's why it's phase 1, to then understand the subconscious root of your identity, how you see yourself, who you see yourself as. And most people think that you can just make a switch, that you can just, yes, there is some truth to the saying, fake it till you make it. Of course, this will help rewire and plant a different story into your subconscious mind. But you also need to understand this part. This is the most significant part that most people reach, that no one teaches. This is why I came up with my own concept. The in-between identity. The in-between identity is where most of us as high achievers are stuck. We're stuck here. We're stuck with some traits, behaviors, subconscious imprinting from the old, and we have imprinted some from the new. And so it feels like we're in this push and pull dynamic. This polarity of like, okay, like why does it feel like I'm changing, but then I'm not quite there and I'm not getting the results done? Let me just show YouTube the framework if you couldn't see it. So it's this push and pull dynamic of this. This is the work. And if you get the bundle, you will get the full training on this and then go into step by step about the in-between. But that's what I want you to focus on. Today's training is called Visionary Focus Part 1. The visionary focus is what's my in-between and how does it misalign with my visionary focus? And that's why I said at the start, you need to be able to actually understand, get crystal clear on what your version of success is, what your most successful identity is, and think bigger. Something that I've been reviewing for all my clients, and go and watch my stories after this. You'll see I did a big review yesterday on CEO Monday for my clients, is like, you want to look at yourself at one level, and then that's where most people stop. And they're like, that's good enough. Like, I want to bring in, they're at 5K months and they want to bring in 10K months, right? That's like very surface level. What's the next thing? Well, I actually want to build a legacy and I want to bring in 50K months. And I also want to put away money in my investments and retire my parents. Like, that's the 10X. It's looking through, the visionary focus is looking at yourself through a different lens, a future lens, something that's expansive. And this is why we do this framework, the in-between. So the in-between are all the things, the push and pull, that are always going to keep you in that dynamic where one day you feel really, really motivated. You wake up, you have the energy, your eating's on point, your workout's on point. You feel like you're ticking off your to-do list, you're moving the needle. And then in the next day, you feel like you're in a slump. You feel overwhelmed. You start scrolling and comparing yourself to everyone. You start thinking you're not good enough. You start thinking you're not worthy. You start thinking, well, one day I'll just take off. You lose momentum. The momentum stops. This is what the in-between does. It stops the momentum of rolling into a new visionary focus, a new self-concept, a new identity. So when you hit that moment, that brink of the momentum is lost, I feel like I'm starting again. It's identity work. Yes, it's your subconscious belief, but it's your identity work as well. And that's what I want you to start to understand when it comes to your own focus of who do I want to be? How am I seeing in the future lens? And something, and like I said, you can get that full training in the bundle, just common identity. From that, what I wanted to attach to that is your standards, your way of living. So if I take you back to the story I was telling you in 2018, the change I made in the next year in 2019, I quit my job. I moved to Bali. I started this business. I've had this business now that I've grown to multiple 6 figures, that I'm able to travel freely. I attracted a high value man. The reason I was able to do that, big part, is my subconscious identity. But that came from also raising my standards. If you just tolerate what you're doing, if you just tolerate being able to pay your bills, if you just tolerate the friends that always bitch and moan on the weekend when you're out to brunch with them, if you just tolerate what the clients and the boundaries that they cross, that's your standard. I can have a 5-minute conversation with you about your business and about your lifestyle, and I can tell you your standards. I can tell you what you're tolerating and why you haven't switched over, why you haven't actually hit and surpassed that glass ceiling that you put yourself in, that box you put yourself in of identity. And it goes back to this. This is the in-between. This is where most high achievers stay. They can't go from the old straight to the new. They're stuck in this in-between, this push and pull dynamic. And that's why we tolerate, is because we get a little bit of the old identity. It's the comfort. And then we get a little bit of the new, that we're seeing some part of success. And so we're just push and pull. We're tolerating it. Look at what your standards are. Look at what you're tolerating right now in life, in your business, in your career. Look at what you're tolerating overall. What does that mean to you? How can you do better? How can you raise it? Not just like, okay, like I will, instead of working out, this is just an example, instead of working out twice a week, I'll work out 3 times. Why not 5 times? You want to get healthy. You want to go on a trek. Maybe you want to have a baby soon. And maybe you want to be your healthiest version. Maybe you feel like you've been in a slump with your body image the past 10 years. So instead of just a little bit, expand that even more. And this is where we start to push out of the in-between. Like I said, I go into the depths and the concept in the training, and you can bundle that up. I've got 2 other trainings in there when it comes to identity, a framework to understand your identity and questions to ask and working through that. And then I've got an embodiment workshop that is beautiful. I love that training. I actually got one of my one-on-ones to rewatch the embodiment training again a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, oh my God, there's so much goodness in here. Like, it's actually something that I need to remarket and put out there because it's full of goodness. But just let me know. Send me a DM with the word identity if you're actually ready to step into that next identity. If you're stuck, if you were stuck in this in between, if you feel like, yeah, you're comfortable, but yeah, you're pushing your boundaries a little bit, that's not good enough. Raise our standards. Let's get to the point. Like, what do you want? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be seen as? And this isn't to be about other people. This isn't about other people. It doesn't matter about them. What it matters is how you are and how you're feeling inside and your worth, and you get to determine that. You get to determine what you tolerate. It's like the people that stay in relationships that don't reach their standards, you're tolerating that over and over and over again. It's like the people who complain they're not making the income they want in their business, and yet they're doing the exact same thing over and over and over again. What's the saying? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That's what happens with identity work. So literally draw this out. If you want something tangible, I'm a tangible person. Draw it out. Write out your role before you even focus on this. Write out your behaviors, right? Your old or / current behaviors, right? Maybe you'll need a bigger piece of paper. Maybe you'll need a whiteboard. Write out all the things that are new in your new identity and get hyper specific. When I was doing a couple of my audits, identity audits for my clients yesterday, one of the biggest piece of feedback is like, get more specific, think bigger. Think bigger, go a deeper level. Like if your new identity is someone makes 100K a month, but like, what does that look like? What does that look? Are you making 100K a month and you 12 hours at your desk, or are you making 100K a month and you get to do your fitness routine in the morning and you have client, etc.? You know what I'm saying? It's like you need to be more specific, and so focus on that. And then we do this part. We start to see, what am I pulling from here? You will know when you've moved and shifted into a new identity. We'll focus more on that tomorrow when it comes to the visionary focus. That's what we'll be conversing with. But this is something that I want you to start to work on, something I want you to start to look at. Getting from one level to the next edge means that you need to hold yourself to different standards and do this self-reflection. Most people think they know the work because they consume things like this, or podcasts, or YouTube, or they watch a movie, or they read a book, listen to an audible. That's great. But a vision and a wanting is nothing without execution. You'll never achieve those things. And that's just it. And that's the music that I've had to face many, many times, is I'll never achieve those things because I'm not executing. It doesn't mean I'm not capable. It doesn't mean that I'm not worthy of those things. But it just means that I need to execute and I need to move. And there's only going to be a small percentage of you who actually do this. There's only going to be a small percentage of you who actually go all in and invest in the 3 masterclasses for $55 on identity work and actually make that a priority rather than putting it off. Part of identity work is like making it a priority of the things that are going to allow you to step into who you want to be, and fighting the urge to go back into the new. Every time that you feel resistance or the fear or the scaredness of doing something new, that is your brain, that is your being trying to keep you in the old because it's comfortable, because it's predictable. And that is where you need to have an honest conversation with yourself. You need to get really, really honest about, what am I doing? What am I reverting back to? What's the standards that I keep saying I want to raise my standards? I keep saying I want to do better, but I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's what you need to start to look at. That's what you need to be honest with. And that's the thing that I get my clients to look at, is like being radically honest with yourself for the part that you are playing in your own suffering. So as we round up this part 1 of visionary focus, Number one, get crystal clear on success, your self-concept. What does that actually look like? Feeding that into number two, looking at this. Of course, if you want the step-by-step, plus the 2 other trainings, it's $55 available today and tomorrow only for the 2 identity trainings that we're doing here. Then there's $55, comment identity, comment replay, come into my DMs, send me a message with the word identity. Just let me know that you want those trainings. We'll get that bundle to you. And focus on this, look at this, and also write out what your current standards are, and not like what you think they are, what they actually are. Look around you, your environment, your relationships, your bank account, your wellness, your health. That is your standard. That is your current standard, and you need the more honest, and yes, it's confronting, but the more honest we are with ourselves, the more that we can actually start to take things apart and start to build on who we want to be, rather than just pushing and grinding and doing the same thing over and over and over again. Let me know how you found this training. I will see you tomorrow for part 2. Make sure you join my broadcast channel for all of the goodies and the offers and the updates. I appreciate you so much, and just slide into my DMs if you have any questions around the bundle. Thank you so much. Bye YouTube. Bye Instagram.